Good morning, guys. How are you? I hope you're all doing well. We are in the thick of half term. The juggle is real, but it's going to be okay. Today I'm actually going to do a Q&A. Haven't done one in a while. It's going to be kind of vlog style though. I'm not going to just sit down the whole time. We'll move around the house. And this video is going to contain an integrated ad by SURI, a brand I've worked with loads and always have the pleasure of chatting to you guys about them. Some of you have already been converted, but I'm sure some of you are still thinking about it. So we can chat more about that in a minute. Rich's mum kindly has the kids today and she's taking them to this great little role play place. Right, let's get ready for the day and let's chat about SURI. This is my SURI toothbrush. I know it's changed colour. So I used to have the black one, which is here, and I did a little swap with Rich. I just love how clean the white one is. And obviously it's really easy to swap because we just waited till it was time to change the heads. And then we both had brand new heads on our toothbrush. So he now has the black and I have the creamy white. We are both so happy with these. Honestly, I'm so happy I made the switch. Seeing as this is a Q&A video, I thought it would be good for me to answer a few questions you guys have about SURI, a few questions I sometimes get in my DMs, because I have spoken about this many times before, so I think by now you guys know the backstory of the brand. But let's answer some more specific questions. So people often ask what's the main difference I've noticed from switching from my old toothbrush to a SURI toothbrush, and the main difference I would say is keeping it clean. This toothbrush is so easy to keep clean. My old one used to get really gross and gunky everywhere. It's a very durable aluminium, but it's super lightweight and just there isn't much to it. There aren't loads of different parts, and I just find it really easy to keep clean. And part of that is the little mirror mount which you get, which you can pop on your mirror or stick it anywhere really. I put it inside the cupboard and it means that the toothbrush just sticks with a magnet and it hovers up from the shelf, so it doesn't get super dirty and it just stays out the way and it has its own little section. And that for me has been a really enjoyable part of owning this toothbrush. How often do I need to change the heads? So SURI recommend every 3 months, which is usual with any toothbrush. I actually just did it recently. The heads look like this. They are plant-based and the heads are actually recyclable, free by SURI. And a question about battery life. Does the battery really last that long? So it says it's got a 40+ day battery, and I would say it absolutely does. I rarely have to charge this. I can't even tell you the last time I did, so it obviously wasn't that recent, which is great because it's so annoying having to constantly charge your toothbrush. I find that really annoying. So yeah, absolutely the battery does last because I can't even remember the last time I charged it. So many of my friends have made the switch now using my code, and if you still need convincing, I do have a really decent discount code. You can use my code Pebbles20 and that'll get you 20% off your SURI order using the link in the description box. And I get DMs all the time from you guys being do you still have your SURI code? Because I know people like to think about these sort of purchases, and that is fine. Have a little think, decide if you want to try it yourself, but then come back, use the link, use the code. Rich and I are both really happy that we made the switch. Just realised I've been waffling away. I need to actually brush my teeth. Did you hear that? That little pause tells you to change sides. I like that. Okay, let me just finish off my hair. There were a lot of questions about parenting, which is kind of understandable because I don't really talk that much about it, and I know how it feels when you follow someone online who is a parent, but you kind of want to know more. Let's start with something easy. What are your favourite podcasts? At the moment, I am listening to Dish. Really like Dish. It's Angela Hartnett, is that her name? And Nick Grimshaw. And I just love the combination. That's the sort of podcast I would love to do. I'd love to be Nick Grimshaw because he's basically quite a foodie, but he doesn't have to, he's not like a chef. He can basically just sit there and chat and enjoy the food. And they talk to different famous guests, but not about their career and not about anything particularly deep. It's kind of mainly about their love for food. It's such an enjoyable watch, but because Angela is a professional famous chef, she makes the food, and I much prefer it to Table Manners. I've tried Table Manners a few times and I like them as people, but I just don't love the flow of the podcast. I think, God, it reminds me if I were to do a podcast with my mum, I think my mum would drive me mad. She'd be interrupting me or the guests and saying like slightly cringe things. And I think that's how I feel when I listen to it. I feel like I'm listening to my mum. So I do prefer Dish as a kind of foodie podcast. I really love Miss Me, Lily Allen and Makita Oliver. I've spoken about that before. I've tried to listen to Rochelle's new podcast, Ladies Who Launch, but I'm not 100% sure about it. But it is still new, so maybe it just still needs time to like get into the flow of things. Quite like Fern Cotton's Happy Place podcast, but I kind of listen depending on who the guest is. Sometimes I listen to The Rest is Entertainment, which is just quite an interesting insight into the entertainment industry. Although I just find that they do talk a lot and it's very wordy, and sometimes I find that a bit much. What do you think it is that takes women years to feel normal again after birth? I also wonder if this is something that actually does affect everybody. I think everyone kind of is different. For me, it's definitely like a 2-year thing after having a baby. And I don't even really mean, I'm not talking about like your body, because after Rudy, I felt more me after like 6 weeks, definitely a lot quicker. But I still don't feel like I fully felt like me until like 2 years afterwards. And after Gray, it definitely took like a long time. And I'm assuming it's a hormone thing, because it feels like it's like your body and your mind and your brain. I think going from 0 to 1 is the biggest adjustment. I can't believe some people say that they think going from 1 to 2 is the biggest adjustment, because I just totally disagree with that. I think 0 to 1 is like such a huge life change. You've gone from having no kids to like your whole life has changed, and suddenly you're in like this routine and you can't just go away and you can't just do what, like, that is the biggest shock. So for me, it definitely took longer to feel more me after the first. The second one just kind of slots in. It's harder logistically, but your life has already changed. Your house, your life is already set up for being a parent and having kids. I think it's a hormone. I can only put it down to like hormones, so I don't know if it makes a difference. You know, when some people take like placenta pills and things, I can imagine that does actually really help. I never really got my act together to do something like that. Just be kind to yourself for like 2 years after having a baby, because I think it does take a while to feel like you again. And even then, you'll never be the same person. I'm absolutely not the same as I was before I had kids. There were a lot of questions about our house. One of them was, would you ever move yours and Richard's bedroom up to the loft to give the kids more space? Yeah, if we stay here long term, that is definitely what we will do. Like when we did the loft, we put plug sockets in place knowing that there could be a bed up there, and the cupboards like could be wardrobes. So it definitely could be our long-term plan, or if we sell the house, that's like what whoever buys the house could do and what they're probably likely to do. But for us, it just doesn't make sense right now. And I know for some people that's kind of hard to explain. I do get people in my DMs who seem a little bit like angry about it, and whenever I mention Rudy's room being tiny. But first of all, can we just acknowledge that like lots of kids grow up in box rooms, lots of kids share rooms with their siblings, like they're really okay. Also, my kids don't actually spend that much time in their bedroom. We tend to kind of play more downstairs. I don't know, maybe they would if they had more space. Our loft currently works as an office for both of us, a spare room when Richard's parents need to stay or any friends need to stay, and a studio space for me to like film and take photos. I mean, that room works hard. There's a lot going on in that room. So we would lose a lot of things. Like the Rudy's little box room couldn't fit us both in there as an office. So then we couldn't both work from home, which is really important for us and our parenting style. We definitely couldn't fit a spare bed in there. So we'd be losing a lot. So while he's only 3, I think it's okay for him to stay in that room. But yeah, we'll definitely have to come up with some kind of long-term plan that works. At the moment, he's got a bed that we're going to flip, and it'll be a high bed, so he'll have space to play underneath. I think he's going to love that. It's just like, we'll get there. Actually, I think there was a question about Rudy's room. We'll get there in a bit. But that's, at the moment, why we're not going to move our bedroom upstairs. Actually, another question said, any plans to continue redecorating Rudy's room? Yes. I actually just got a delivery, which I think has some samples in it. So let's go open that up. I ordered some samples from Lick. So I feel like with Rudy's bedroom, it's just taking ages because it's kind of all on me. Like, Rich doesn't really get involved when it comes to like home decor stuff. And I just find there's just a lot. There's a lot going on. I've got, you know, there's still so many things I want to do. I have like a list on my phone, and just, I find that things around the house just often don't get finished. And I tend to tackle the easier, smaller things. I find his room a little bit daunting. Again, it's like we're waiting for him to be at the right age to flip the bed, and a lot can't happen until then. And then with this IKEA Kura beds, if you kind of look on Pinterest, there's so many amazing things you can do to them, but I'm just really not like a DIY person. So I find it all a bit intimidating. Like silly things, like we got a thicker, more comfortable mattress for Rudy, but that now means that when we flip the bed, it's not as thin as the IKEA mattress you're supposed to get, which means it's not going to be safe. So if we flip it, we need to build something so he doesn't fall out of the bed, and it's all just a bit overwhelming. But I did order some wallpaper samples from Lick, because I do think with a room that small, if it's like wrapped in wallpaper, I think it could be amazing. Ooh. Okay, so I love this wallpaper from Lick. And then it's like, do you wallpaper the whole thing? Do you add a picture rail or a dado rail? Do you wallpaper half and paint half? I really love that. And then this is this is meant to look like that. It's this like stripe. That is really cool. This is another wallpaper. Like when we moved into this house, a lot of the rooms had wallpaper, and it was so hard to remove it that it really put me off ever doing wallpaper. But I feel like people on Instagram always wallpaper things. Again, I wish I could like wallpaper myself, but I just don't think I'm that person. My sister-in-law was telling me that you need to have like a massive table to lay the wallpaper out on. Like where would we put a massive table up here? I just don't understand the logistics of it. I got a couple of blues to see if they go with it, and this kind of red colour, because it would be nice to do like woodwork in red or something. Imagine that, and we add a picture rail and then do all the woodwork in red. That could look nice. Should we go put it on his wall? I think these are sticky, if I can manage to unstick it. Am I being stupid? I don't know if this is sticky. Let me go get some blue tack. So I think if I did this wallpaper, I would add a picture rail and then do above the picture rail in the ceiling in like a white, creamy white that complements it, and then maybe do the woodwork in like a red, just to make it a little bit more interesting. I think it might need to be like a more brighter red than that, maybe. Thing is, I love these blues, but it's a north facing room, so I think blue is just a bad idea. Blue and the red together, so nice. Maybe if the woodwork's blue, that wouldn't be too bad. I definitely prefer the clover to this one. I don't even think I'm going to put that up. The red and white stripe is also really cool, but it's quite a tall room. It's not wide, so doing vertical stripes, it would just make the room feel more narrow, I think. I guess I could put the stripes going sideways. No, that would be weird. Or do I do the wallpaper with blue woodwork? These are the sort of decisions that I don't know and I struggle to make on my own. And then I think I need to change the curtains and the blackout blinds to like a nice blackout Roman blind that has like a pattern on it. Where do I start? I just never end up getting around to doing it. The next question is, I have a 1-year-old child and I'm thinking about another baby. What made you choose to have a second child? I think a lot of people struggle with this decision. First of all, let's acknowledge how lucky those of us are who have the choice or are able to, or don't dread the idea of having to try again. I always knew I wanted to have more than one if I could, because I just think siblings obviously have their good parts and their bad parts, but I think, I don't know, it's hard to talk about it without offending anyone who's chosen to only have one. For me, it was just really important. I am really happy that we had more than one. Everything feels a lot easier, which I know sounds mad because obviously there are parts that are much trickier. For example, half term and finding camps that they can both do. And there's 2 kids, but there's also a lot of moments where it's easier because they have each other and they play with each other and they teach each other so much. And when they're so kind to each other, and Gray is like so maternal with him and so cute, and Rudy's just like thriving because of everything he's learned from her, and it's so magical and special seeing siblings together, grow up together. It's like ready-made best friends. I mean, even if they don't stay best friends forever, they're like their own little team. I don't know, like for me, I just knew I didn't want to have 2 kids in nappies and 2 kids in a cot. So when Gray was 2.5, that's when I was hoping I could have a second, and that's kind of how it worked out. But they're still really like close in age, so 2.5 years was a nice gap for us. How do you see Instagram changing in 2025? Oh my god, this rug is literally just molted all over my trousers. That's so annoying. Oh god, I don't know, I can never really like predict these things. But what I would like to see from Instagram, like I'm really loving long form content on here and on Instagram, and I would love Instagram to become less pressure on like scrolling and watching everything right there and then, and more like a little bit like Pinteresty, where you can maybe see something you like and save it, and it could create a little kind of mood board of things that you've seen and saved. And so when you come onto Instagram, you could kind of go onto that board, and it would just be like a board of inspiration from recipes and outfits and videos, and somewhere where you open up and it's just like everything you want to see is right there. I think that would be really cool. Something that encourages like saving and coming back to and watching and checking in on, rather than this like constant stream of content. Oh, why is there a bowl of water up here? Honestly, what have these kids been playing? Do you have a nanny for Gray and Rudy? No, we don't have a nanny. We get by with a combination of just kind of sharing the load, really, actually. Gray's in school, Rudy's in nursery 3 days a week. My mum will have Rudy for 1 day sometimes. and then it's just me and Rich. I have a flexible job, I guess. I work from home and I can pick my hours, although I try to work like 4 normal working days a week. And Rich also has the flexibility of working from home, so it just, all that means is that it just cuts down the commute time. You know, neither of us are people who have to be in an office at 8:30 and can't leave the office till 6:30. So that does help in terms of like picking up, but we also rely on things like after school clubs, like a couple of days a week. What is the plan with Foggy Mornings? I mean, not much has changed. The plan is to continue filming more videos in the format that you saw with Lydia. I have reached out to a couple more guests, which took me ages to do. I find that part the hardest process, like getting the guts to ask someone, deciding who to ask. As much as I want to really like branch out and have a huge range of guests, I also still feel like this is really new and I still feel nervous about it, and I'm still not used to doing these sort of things on my own. So I want to still have people who I know that make me feel comfortable, just as I like kind of practice with it. So reaching out to people, I always find that the hardest bit, but I plucked up the courage to do it yesterday. So I've got a couple of people, one person said yes, and the other person I'm still waiting to hear from. So then I just need to get things in motion. I'm a one-man band when it comes to doing this. Like, Georgia helps me film on the day, but it's up to me to kind of get things moving in motion and plan and book in a date and email the guest. And it's just, I don't know, it's very easy for the weeks and months to pass by and I haven't done anything yet. But the plan is to still carry on with those videos, take our time, make them really engaging and fun to watch. And then I also want to do some kind of like mini videos as well that aren't the format that I did with Lydia, but like smaller videos where I could include family and friends, like cooking with Carly and other things that kind of still feel very like Foggy Mornings, but aren't that typical format with a kind of well-known person. I also would love to do events with Foggy Mornings at some point, pottery painting and talks about menopause, and there's so many things that I feel fall under the umbrella you guys would enjoy, that I would enjoy as well. Getting things moving, getting things done. I've always found that a bit of a challenge, like especially because I've got so many other things going on. I've got my daily job to get on with and brand work and other things, and making so much content. I make so many videos on Instagram that are like what I think are quite high quality, like long, decent, chunky videos, and that those things just take time. So the weeks go by and I'm like, oh, I haven't done anything yet for Foggy Mornings. So it's still happening, but it's just a slow work in progress. Someone asked if Gray is closer to Rich or to me, and who is the disciplinarian. I would say in terms of closeness that it's equal. We're very much like both very hands-on. I would never feel like, I often hear people say like, oh, my kids play up when my husband puts them to bed because they know he's not the strict one. Like that's not a thing for us. We're very, very equal with our parenting. I trust Rich to do anything that I can do. He trusts me to do anything that he can do. I would say that like maybe I'm a little bit more patient. So if we have a tricky situation, I might come at it from a slightly different angle, a slightly more kind of calmer angle that would like diffuse the situation, whereas Rich has slightly shorter fuse. But that's why we work really well as a team, because we'll tag team in and out when we know the other one needs a break. I am more strict when something's really important. If my kids have put themselves in danger or done something to hurt someone else or upset someone else, those are the things I take seriously. But everything else, I think, is a conversation. And I really want to avoid constantly shouting at my kids and like throwing out false threats that never happen, because I just don't want to have that like constant like, it doesn't work. For me, I don't think it works. So I really try to like stay like this and then use those moments when it's when it really matters, when they run off in the streets or if they hurt each other or if they're unkind. I think there needs to be kind of levels so that they know when something's really important and when something can just be like done differently next time. How cute is this for like hanging hair clips on? And then it can just hang on her wardrobe. Someone asked, if I won the lottery, what changes would I make to my life? I always feel a bit uncomfortable answering these sort of questions, because obviously, like, I hope someone else wins the lottery who needs it a lot more than me. I don't actually play the lottery. I mean, occasionally for fun. But if I won the lottery, what would I do? Would I tell anyone? My dad, who was an accountant for a long period of time, had a client who won the lottery and didn't tell anyone apart from him, not even his wife and kids or anything. I think he obviously had a lot of money already and maybe wanted to keep it for his kids, or I don't know, like it can change things, right? Obviously I would like to do good with the money, so I would love to work with a charity, but like invest a lot of money into a charity or a few charities, but like not just give money, but like invest my time as well in using that money to open up a centre of some kind or work on something with them. I don't know, like materialistic wise, I would get a holiday home somewhere, like another home abroad that we could go to regularly for holidays. That would be amazing. Would move house and would like treat the people in my life, maybe buy some property. I don't know how much money we're talking here. I don't think I would do anything like crazy extravagant, because I'm just not really like that. Like nothing flashy, but things that are like good investments that I can hand down to my kids as well. And I probably would send my kids to private school, which kind of leads on to another question someone asked of like, what's my opinion on private school versus state school? I think this is a tricky one to answer because it's totally different in every country and it's totally different inside and outside of London. Outside of London, private schools have a very different reputation and are much more affordable, and state schools also have a very different reputation. It's just London versus everywhere else. It's really different here. Can you hear me whilst I'm washing up? Is this annoying? Let me just do this little bit of the air fryer. In London, private schools now are totally unaffordable. They have been for quite a while now, like crazy amounts of money. But I think the reason why people value them, for me, it's not necessarily a case of education. Like obviously there are going to be some top private schools, which if you have a very intelligent child, they will really benefit from those kind of top private schools. But I think let's just talk here. Let's talk like average child, yeah? I was pretty much average, maybe below average at school. I wouldn't send my kids to private school because of the education. I don't think the education is that different between private and state schools. If you're talking like the average private school and the average state school in London, not like the top ones of either. We're not talking grammar school here, and we're not talking like top private schools. We're talking private school, state school. I don't think the education is different, or the quality in the teachers. I think it's a size thing. In London, most of the private schools will have like 2 to 3 classes in a year, maybe of like maximum 30 kids. That would be quite big for a private school. But the state schools, and this blows my mind, have around 13 classes in a year. 13 classes of 30. So that for me is the main thing. My kids will be going to state school, and it does worry me the amount of like attention they're gonna get from teachers, or like whether they just get a little bit lost in the system. Because if you're anything like me, it's okay, you can come in. You're like creeping in the background. If you're like anything like me, I needed teachers to like be like notice things about me, or like I don't know, I would have got lost in a massive school majorly. Rich, if you won the lottery, what would you do with the money?
Oh, well, how much?
Would you hire someone to take the bins out?
Yeah.
Oh my god, I didn't say that I'd hire a chef. If I was like really rich, I'd get a chef.
Yeah, I'd have a
chef.
I'd have a chef.
No, but realistically, you wouldn't. That wouldn't be one of the first things you'd do.
What? How much would you win?
I know, I don't know. Let's just say it's quite a lot.
10 million.
Yeah.
I would Buy a sustainable house or island. I'll buy an island.
I said a holiday home. He says an island. Okay.
I'll get a high island,
Yeah.
make it all off-grid. I'll then also buy a house here that's off-grid.
What does off-grid mean?
Like it's fully sustainable. Yeah?
Doesn't mean like it can't be found on Google Maps.
No. And then a bit of charity, investing.
Yeah, pretty much on the same page, I'd say. So yeah, those are my thoughts on private versus state in London. For me, it's a size thing more than anything. Like when I was growing up, people who had decent, well-paid jobs sent their kids to private school. It wasn't a super luxury, high-end thing. It wasn't completely unaffordable. And as long as that's where your priorities lay, people, you know, a lot of my friends never went on holidays and never had like new trendy clothes or had nice things, and their house was pretty basic, but they went to private school. So I think often it's not just like rich people who send their kids to private school. There'll be a lot of people there in grants, but also some people just prioritize that over other things. But anyway, like I say, it really wasn't like a super luxury thing, and now it's a lot more expensive. So more people send to state, more people invest in buying homes in areas with good state schools, which then makes the houses become unaffordable, and it's all just absolutely crazy in London, I have to say. It is crazy. Any advice you give younger Lily before she had children? I thought I knew more. Oh my God, you're really having a bad time here. I thought because I had older sisters with kids, I was like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. I don't think you know. Even if you think, oh, I'm always around kids, I'm always around babies, I've got siblings or friends with kids, it's so different when it's your own. Take more maternity leave. I thought I was so cool, like taking 3 months. It was more than any content creator had ever taken. Like, whew, should have taken 9 months. Yeah. I've started making a list of things that I want to remember, like next time we move, things that I wish we had done. And one of them is to get a tap that like goes, you know, if you're gonna get a butler sink, get a removable tap, because it's so annoying having to clean all the food and stuff. Like, I don't really regret not getting a waste disposal because it takes up so much space under the sink. But I find cleaning the sink is so annoying, and it's so much easier when you have a tap that removes and you can like swish it around. So before I forget, that is on my list of things that I would do differently, because I think there is a question about that.
Oh.
Sorry. Kids and screen time. I love that that's not even a question, it's just like a topic of discussion. Okay, this is how I feel about kids and screen time. I would say Rich and I are not particularly strict about anything, but that doesn't mean we don't have boundaries and rules. Something that always sticks in my brain is I knew some kids growing up who were only allowed sweets and chocolate on the weekend, and it was a very strict rule. And all I remember about these kids is that they were totally obsessed with sweets and chocolate and the weekend coming. So I just try to remind myself of that, because I think when you have strict rules about something, it almost becomes a bigger deal, and they can become more obsessed with it. Obviously this doesn't apply to everyone, but I feel a bit like I take that approach. So we don't have strict rules with screen time, and therefore I think my kids are not even that bothered by it. They do have iPads, they have like the Amazon tablets, because at the beginning Gray was using one of our old iPads, and I actually just didn't like that it had all the apps, and it was a bit like, I feel like this is just like safe, it's just kids apps, you know, it's kind of hard to use, which is almost a good thing because they don't really know how to use it. So they will mainly use the iPad to watch Netflix, Disney programs. Like, I'd rather them watch programs over anything else. My main preference would be that they're watching like CBeebies on TV. We've started recently to kind of try and move them away from the tablet unless we're out and about, unless we're traveling, and when we're at home I'd rather put on the TV. I really want my kids to get used to like not necessarily choosing what they watch and just having to watch what's on and wait for the adverts in between, because that's what we all had and we all turned out fine. I just think that's, you know, I worry that they get too used to having everything on demand and like shows just going from one to the next. So we do try and encourage like actual TV and watching films, because that would always be my preference. And you know, we're just sensible with it. If they've got a friend round, they're not going to sit and watch TV with their friend. Like, we'll be like, no, don't watch TV, you got a friend round, play. Try to not let my kids watch YouTube. I have the YouTube Kids app on my phone, which I feel a little bit safer with. But then even though it's, you know, that they're not going to get served content that's not aimed at kids, even the stuff that's aimed at kids, I just find it a little bit crap, if I'm honest. And I don't love
her watching other kids playing with toys. Like, I know they love it, but I just find it a bit like brain numbing. If she's gonna watch YouTube, I'll always try and help her find a cool video, like something like how they make sweets, or how do they make Play-Doh? Something that's kind of educational but fun and engaging at the same time. But I think everything's just a balance. Do you think I've communicated that well, Rich? I actually often find that TV is a thing that calms my kids. So if they're really overtired and like they've just had a really mental day, or they've been at school, to sit and watch a film actually just really calms them down. So that is actually the main way that we use it.
And certain shows.
Yeah, exactly. We do pick our shows wisely. Pepper is a brat. I don't like Pepper. I don't like that princess one. Anything that they watch and I think the character's not a good influence, I'll stop them watching it. And often Gray will watch a programme. So like when she first ever watched Topsy and Tim when she was like 2, she would start to have these like really bad bedtimes where she'd be upset and overtired and just weird at bedtime. It wasn't a good bedtime. And we realised that there was a pattern. Whenever she'd watched a show that was like almost a bit too grown up for her, it got her brain going too much, she'd have a bad bedtime. So that's how we know she's not ready for that show. Obviously now she's fine with Topsy and Tim, but then recently she found on Netflix or something that show called The Perfect Landing, is it called? And it's about like young gymnasts, and it's aimed at a bit older than her, and then she started having bad bedtime. So we were like, okay, you're not ready for that. And then we just explained, like, when you watch that show, it makes you feel a bit sad, and that's fine. It's a little bit too grown up for you, and you'll be able to try it again soon. Next house, would you experiment more with colour on walls? Yeah, more colour, more wallpaper, more fun. Please update us on carpet research. Niche but interested, as I have no idea how to get started. So this is our carpet. It is a wool loop carpet, and we got it in grey because at the time I thought grey goes with everything, but it doesn't, especially a bluey toned grey. I want to change our carpet because we have a massive stain in our bedroom, and I've obviously never liked the colour, and we have to do the loft stairs. So that's 3 things that feels like it's enough of a reason to change the carpet, but I am really struggling to make a decision as to what to change it to. I think wool looks the nicest out of all the carpets. So I could easily just change to a colour that goes with everything, a creamy sandy wool loop. It would look lovely. You know, one of the main reasons I want to change it is because there's mega stain in our bedroom, and if the kids drop something on wool carpet, it stains and it's really hard to clean. So would that be a mistake doing that? If I went for something synthetic, which actually is more affordable and easier to clean, it's really hard to tell from a little sample if it's going to look a bit naff and a bit cheap when it's down. I hate that kind of shiny, some synthetic carpets look so bad, and it's such a big commitment, and it's so hard to tell. I really like the look of wool. It's really kind of rustic and homely. And when we do the carpet next time, something I didn't do last time, which I would do, is add extra underlay under the bedroom carpet so that it's softer underfoot, especially if you go for a wool, because it's a bit firmer, a bit harder. I'm going to sit next to Rich while he's having his lunch. You don't have to join in, I know you're having your lunch break. Can you talk more about parenting? Do your kids have meltdowns? I have a boy and I can't find the rest of that question, but I can imagine what it says. Yes, of course. Whose kids don't have meltdowns? Although sometimes I look at people who have like only girls and I'm like, definitely gonna have a different vibe there. Our kids either love each other and are so beautiful and kind, and Gray is so cute and she acts like his little mummy and teaches him sign language and it's just so cute, or they're absolutely killing each other.
They just get vicious with each other.
They really do. Usually, if there's like a serious meltdown going on, I find that it's not that helpful to tell them off in the moment. I'm thinking back a bit to when they were younger. It's different now they're older, you can have more of like an actual conversation with them. But I remember when they were like 1 or 15 months or whatever, and they'd be doing something they're not supposed to be doing. And telling them off in the moment whilst they're having a meltdown I never used to find that would work. I used to find that in the moment it would be like a distraction to get them out of the meltdown. And then later on we would talk about what happened and what they could have done differently. And not go on and on and on about it, but like, when this happened, it made me sad. And next time, let's do it more like this. That was always my tactic. One of the best things we have learned from parenting, especially at bedtime, sometimes my kids will just see red and they're just in one of those moods where they just mean trouble and they're upset and they're angry and they're tired and you just know it's going to go down that route. If we tell them off, if we start giving them instructions, do this, do that, it just made it worse and worse. Oxytocin is like the happy hormone, right? It's what when you're in labor, when you're trying to give birth, you do hypnobirthing and all of that to release oxytocin, which helps you feel calm and relax. What's the best way to release oxytocin to kids is by making them laugh. So sometimes, it doesn't always work, sometimes when Gray is having a pre-bed meltdown, we will find a way to make her laugh. And it's almost like as soon as she laughs, it just breaks that spell that she was in, because you can tell it's like it releases the oxytocin, she's laughing, and she's managed to get out of that red mood that she was in.
Well said.
Thanks. Absolute dream holiday destination. Come on, you can answer this one with me.
Difficult.
Like right now, you're going on holiday tomorrow, where do you want to go? No, like if you don't answer in 10 seconds, you're not going to get the holiday, but it's free. If you answer in 10, 9, 8, 7... Japan, tomorrow. Mm. Are you on your own or are you with us? What, did I make a weird face?
Yeah, you were like, don't know how to respond to that.
Well, I'm trying to think, like, I don't know if I want to go to
of
the
course
kids
with family.
tomorrow. Oh, Rudy in Japan, I'd need like 5 air tags to feel calm. But I think tomorrow I'd like to go to like the Maldives.
Yeah, I was
It's
thinking
sad
that.
knowing that. I don't think we'll ever go. I want that kind of Caribbean beach, or like Australia. If I could go to Australia without having to fly there, I'd go.
The Whit Sundays.
Oh, amazing. Other than your children, what are you most proud of? I would say my career. I'm proud of my career because it didn't exist when I started. I feel like I was part of a group of people that shaped and formed a whole industry. And I'm proud of you guys. I'm proud of the community that I've built online. Describe your dream home. Okay, we're back on the home thing. I don't think it would be too far off this. I think it would be a very traditional Victorian home. What?
No.
No.
That's what you would ask for.
Yeah.
Ideal home.
Yeah, because if you go too big, it's too expensive to maintain.
Detached.
I wouldn't mind a semi.
Bed.
5 bed.
Yeah, because
Wait,
too big.
1, 2, 3.
Detached. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Rich wants a detached house. I would have gone for semi-detached.
Fine, semi-detached, but like
with a driveway,
proper driveway,
big garden enough for an outhouse if you wanted like a gym or a studio or something in the back of the garden.
Can't the gym be in
without?
The house?
I don't want a gym in a house.
If you have a 5-bed house, you can have a gym.
I don't want it.
Yeah,
utility room.
Utility room.
Maybe slightly wider, like a big hallway, not a hallway where you go in and it's like, there's scooters and bikes everywhere.
Double-fronted.
Double-fronted would be ideal.
That's why I said detached.
But I could take a not double-fronted if it had that second room on it.
Okay.
If it was big. Any holidays planned for 2025? Yes, we've actually been quite organised this year and we have booked a couple of holidays. We're going to Italy in the Easter and Crete in summer. Back to Crete again. We went last year to Crete, but we went to a resort last year, and the resorts are always in the worst part of the island because they need the space. So you kind of stay in the resort and there's nothing really to see if you leave. Whereas this year is the first year in quite a while that we're going to do an Airbnb, which means cooking and cleaning and like full-time childcare. But I think it'll be worth it for being able to discover the incredible beaches and local markets and restaurants and just feeling like we're getting a little bit more culture into our trip than we would do at a resort. And the resorts are so expensive as well. So that's what we're doing. I'm really excited. Okay, it's cup of tea and sofa time. Let's finish off a few of these last questions. What has become easier with traveling with kids as they grow older? I mean, aside from the fact that they can just like walk and hold their own bags-ish, everything just becomes easier when they're older because you can reason with them, you can have a conversation with them. As soon as they're past that age where they just run off in random directions, that is the hardest age in my opinion so far. You need less stuff. No nappies, no bottles, no changing stuff, no spare change of clothes, just no stuff. It's just like entertainment, just toys and games and snacks. But like even then I could buy some in the shop if I needed to. It's all the stuff. I would say encourage your kids to learn how to share a room on holiday as early as you can, because it's obviously impossible when you're traveling for your kids to all have their own rooms with like blackout blinds. So the more flexible they can be with things like that when traveling, the better. I think this is the last question. I hope it's a good one. You've mentioned that you've come to a place where you're done with having kids. How do you know? I don't know. Some people like really know. So many people I know have had 2 kids and they're like done, 2 and done. And some people are like, no, I definitely want to try for 3. And like I've always said, I'm somewhere in between. I think it's less a case of I know that I'm done, and it's more of a case of coming to terms with the idea that I might always feel like I wish I'd had 3, and that's okay. Do you know what I mean? I think I've just come to terms with like there is a high possibility that I will regret not having 3, but that I just need to like sit comfortably with that. Like I mentioned in previous videos, I've literally written like pros and cons list. I think I'm just too nervous to do the whole pregnancy baby thing again, and I'm nervous of what we would have to sacrifice and give up in our life to have 3 kids. I think if we didn't live in London, it would be a much easier decision, but our lives are busy, expensive, full on. We are not those people that have like loads of support and help with childcare, and I think the kids having 2 like happy parents is very important. So I think we are done, but it's not like it's not always like an easy decision, I don't think, for everyone. I am actually getting so tired now, so I feel like I'm not even answering these questions properly. I've got some stuff to get on with, so I think I'm gonna wrap up the video here. It's been so nice answering questions with you guys, and thank you so much to SURI for sponsoring this video. Don't forget, I'm gonna leave my discount code and the link down below in the description box. You can use my code Pebbles20 to receive 20% off your SURI order. Yes, I'll pop the link down below, and I hope you guys enjoyed a little catch-up Q&A video. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.